I invite all of you who enjoy today's festival, Ukrainian culture, Ukrainian food, to also travel to Ukraine.
For every Ukrainian in South Africa, this is a very important event. For me, it's very touching to bring Ukrainian culture to South Africans.
I want to say here a huge thank you on behalf of everyone who enjoyed this amazing day for putting it together and making it so special. Thank you very much. Please join me, guys, in giving them a round of applause.
Welcome, dear friends. Let me announce that the 4th Ukrainian Festival is open. This year we are hosting it online. And please join us on this live stream that you can watch on the Facebook page of Ukrainian Association of South Africa, as well as on Ukrainian Online Festival. We started this wonderful tradition 3 years ago when our first festival took place. It was our attempt to unite all the Ukrainians that live in South Africa to show their culture, cuisine, music, to all the Cape Townians. And since then it's become our good tradition. And first festival actually was a success. We had more than 1,000 visitors, while second festival already showed us progress in people who are interested in visiting these events, and we had more than 6,000 visitors. So this 4th festival that we hold online, I'm sure it will be a success as people from all over the world can join us online. Let me introduce some of our speakers that will officially open our festival. Let me introduce you Dzvinka Kachur, the president of Ukrainian Association of South Africa. Dzvinka.
Greetings to all who are joining us today from South Africa, Ukraine, and other countries. We welcome you to the 4th Ukrainian Festival organized by Ukrainian Association of South Africa. We have registered a non-profit organization in 2017 and very happy that today our members are both Ukrainians and South Africans. And if you are watching us today and you are not yet a member, we hope that after this event you will join us. We see many commonalities between the two countries, and we believe the dialogue that we promote help us to understand each other better. Both Ukraine and South Africa became independent at the beginning of the 90s, and we are in the process of redefining or refining our identity. At the beginning of 2020, we had big plans that this year festival will be not only in Cape Town, but also in Pretoria, in Gauteng. But thanks to COVID-19 pandemic, our festival is today in all provinces and beyond. There are around 6,000 of Ukrainians living in South Africa. Recently, our association, together with the International Institute of Diaspora Relationships in Ukraine, New York, has conducted a study of Ukrainian community, and we see that Ukrainians are contributing economically, professionally, and culturally to different areas in South Africa. We are happy that Ukrainians are well integrated. They make friendship and marriages with different ethnicity in South Africa. So we would like to present Ukrainian culture, cuisine, our tradition, language, something that we want to share with all of you. We really hope that you will enjoy it. And if you would like to know more, please follow our webpage or our social media. I'm happy to introduce two more speakers without whom the dialogue between Ukraine and South Africa would not be possible. These are our diplomats. Liubov Abravitova, Ambassador of Ukraine to the Republic of South Africa, and Groenewald, the Ambassador of South Africa to Ukraine. I'm going to give the word to Liubov Abravitova, and also very happy that from the first festival in 2017, Liubov Abravitova is with us. She was appointed just few months before our first festival, and she made an effort to attend it immediately. Since that time, we feel that Ukrainian Embassy is really home for Ukrainian Association, so thank you for your support.
Thank you very much, Dzvinka. Dear Ukrainians, dear friends of our country, and dear friends of both our countries, of Ukraine and South Africa, even during pandemic times, we have to have a pleasant and nice gatherings. And let's just imagine, like 1 year ago, we were at some place called Kachur farm. I can't pronounce it, maybe wrongly. Mr. Groenewald will correct me. Kachur farm, with a bright sun there, very disturbed that something can or may go wrong. And we were preparing to receive so many friends of Ukraine at that time. And we were wondering whether it would be very productive and very interesting for everyone. Let's imagine that we are back in that times now. Do you remember why our hearts were fulfilled with such love, with such happiness? Why was that unforgettable? Let's just try to do the same today online. This is a great effort, and this is complicated. You know, in our diplomatic work, we also already a little bit tired of some digital and online meetings and Zooms. And I also was worried before we started this festival, because it's something new for us, these virtual meetings. But I strongly believe that because of warmth of our hearts, we can do this event very, very wonderful. And it will be, I'm sure. Why it's important that these festivals are taking part in South Africa, starting, as Dzvinka said, from 2017. First of all, because they allow us to feel ourselves as one family. Or, if you want, as one team, that's far away from our home. My embassy is with all heart supports and understands all this. And that's why we are doing very important thing all together. For these years, since Ukrainian Association in South Africa was established, so many projects were happening, and I don't want to name them. All of our supporters, they know these projects and they're proud of them. And I think that by doing this, all of us, we are kind of members or a team of the division of consolidation of Ukrainians, not only abroad, but also in Ukraine. I want today, and I wish today to all of us, that maybe it's virtual, but let's imagine, as like in African tradition, we're sitting around a big fire, and the fire is big and warm, and with its warmth, we are under this African sky, we feel the spirit of consolidation of Ukrainians. We are working now together on many projects to become. And I'm sure that it will be very, very productive. The next year, the next festival, which I'm sure we are going to have, and I hope we are going not to have it virtually, but physically, that we can share our success about all the projects we are doing and preparing now. I wish our division of consolidation today to be successful.
Thank you. Thanks, Liubov. And I'm happy to pass the word to Andrea Groenewald. And I must say that similar to Ukrainian Embassy being a home for Ukrainian Association in South Africa, South African Embassy also has been always extremely supportive to all projects of Ukrainian Association. When we were established, ambassador was Mr. Basson. And since 2019, Andrea took on this role, and he fully embraced Ukrainian Association and all our efforts. And we can see also a lot of progress in economic and cultural cooperation between the two countries. So thank you for that support. Andrea, words to you. Just unmute yourself.
Yeah. No, thank you very much for inviting me. And I also want to say good afternoon to all the South Africans and to all the Ukrainians that are there, and to everybody who's willing to be friends of this association and to promote the friendship between our two countries. We are very happy that you are joining us today, and we are hoping that in future it will be more a physical and a real-time meeting. But for now, we deal with what we have. I also believe that there's opportunities in this new situation, and that we, through our online meetings, maybe can build and get to know each other. So by the time that things open up, we already know each other, and we can just build on that. So with that, I think I'm very excited about this. I must say, starting off, Dzvinka, you have got to get the Groenewald part ready. It's deep in the throat here, and it's a real South African one. My South African colleagues and all the South Africans will think, what kind of foreigner have they sent out here with that surname? So, and of course, the wine farm is Knorhoek. It's once again, it's rrr. So, but you'll get it right. We'll work on that. I just want to also say that I've been very encouraged by the Ukrainian community in South Africa. It's been extremely positive. Your contributions that you are making to the South African community is admirable. I have to, and it's highly respected and highly valued. Not always do you have a group of people that just make incredible, positive contributions, and we want to thank you, and we want you to continue with that. We want you to be not just happy, but successful in our country. And Liubov knows that last time that she was in Ukraine, we met with the parliament, and it's one of my stories that I always tell, that the last Afrikaans spelling competition was won by a Ukrainian girl that lives with her parents in Potchefstroom. And so not only are you assimilating, you are making contributions, and you are challenging the South Africans on their own language. I know that the other day that there was a national radio spelling and I think a diction competition. We are not there yet, but maybe in the near future we will be able to do that. But I want to just again go back to this whole issue of the contributions, and make sure that what we are doing, those of you who are listening in terms of looking to do business between the two countries, there are very few business people that know a country as intimate, both countries as intimate as those people that have moved from Ukraine, or the people that have moved from South Africa to Ukraine. And you must take advantage of that knowledge and build business. Liubov, the South African embassy in Kiev, and the Ukrainian embassy in Tshwane is ready to help you and to make sure that we're not just friends, but that we become wealthy friends. And so for that, we are inviting you to do business. We are inviting you to look at the culture. I know that the association, Ukrainian association, is very active with all kinds of murals and poetry and books. and we need to build on that. I think that is something on the online environment that we can maybe do, Liubov. Maybe come up with some plans of people that are writing and that are interested in writing, and also maybe some of the books from both sides and poetry to be translated in each other's languages. And I also think that maybe some choirs and theaters, you know, we can look at those opportunities as well. So there's a lot of things to be done. I am very happy to be associated with the Ukrainian Association of South Africa, and with all of you and your positive energy and your contributions you are making. I hope today will be a fantastic success, and that we would be able to do this more often in future, and that it will just go from strength to strength. So thank you very much for inviting me and for giving me opportunity to speak. And with those words, I will say thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Groenewald, I promise to practice pronouncing your name properly from now on. And maybe, as you've noticed,
I see you've made progress. You've got the going there.
Baie danke. Mr. Groenewald, I wanted to ask you, when you are in Ukraine, is there any place or maybe any of the situation that reminds you of South Africa? Can you say about the place or situation that when you are there, or when you hear maybe a smell or a sound, that you feel like you are at home? Because lots of our emotions, they form when we are in our own country. So when we are abroad, what for you is it brings South Africa to Ukraine?
It's a very interesting question. I must say it has not happened where I see many similarities, but what makes me happy is the differences. I was just telling somebody yesterday, one of my old university friends. I was telling him about rowing on the river and going in between the islands and all these little places that you can go. And that it's so different from South Africa, and that, you know, many of us, we grow up, I love water, so I used to go a lot to the ocean, and I grew up near the ocean, but I've never had these incredible, I had this, you know, craving fantasy to go on rivers, but in South Africa, we don't really have those kind of big rivers. So to do this here is such an incredible joy. And some of you that are friends with us on Facebook will have seen that I went running with Liubov, which is something that I do all the time here. And so I go to Tukonov Island, and it's just the way that the seasons changes. It is fantastic. And so I celebrate the differences, I think, more than maybe the similarities. But the people are also very, very friendly, and I think that's something that we share. I must say the other difference that I miss is I miss the blue skies that are so close to your head. Which is something that I think only you find in South Africa. But if you drive through our southern areas around Swellendam, where the big land, where the wheat and the corn is, I think that is something similar to Ukraine. I think that is where you actually have way more, you know, land and horizons than we have.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Andrea. We will continue with the official presentation. We have one more greetings from Nataliya Poshyvaylo.
Dear organizers, participants, supporters, and wider community of the Ukrainian Association of South Africa. From the Ukrainian World Congress and from myself, I would like to send you special greetings and congratulate you on organizing such a special event of celebrating Ukrainian culture and diversity. Special greetings are going to the President of the Ukrainian Association of South Africa, Mrs. Dzvinka Kachur, and the committee members, who I'm sure spent days and nights preparing this special event. To you all, I wish you successful and grand day. Enjoy yourself and celebrate Ukrainian culture and South Africa. Thank you.
So Ukrainian Association is a member of Ukrainian World Congress Association. Ukrainians from different countries. They're responsible for almost 20 million of Ukrainians that are living abroad. So the organization, some of the countries have very strong diaspora, like in Canada, America, Australia. Ukrainian diaspora in South Africa is significantly smaller, but we also are part of the Ukrainian World Congress. Ms. Abravitova, Svetlana was asking a question. Have you found your place of home in South Africa? Is there any maybe dish or music or a view that reminds you of home?
You know, frankly speaking, I feel here as at home. Maybe because I'm staying here for quite a long time. But really the luxury of being that far from your home and to discover the new things is that you don't find a lot of similarities. As maybe I'm repeating, Andre, you, but I'm absolutely agree 100% that in this diversity you find yourself, but you don't have to find maybe your country in the face of another country, because your country is inside of yourself, inside of your heart. So I'm discovering something new for myself here every day. It's such a wonderful and beautiful place in the world. And I have a dream that most of our compatriots would be able one day to see it, and that most of South Africans would be able to come and see Ukraine, because this diversity can be as a puzzle for not only for our, because we are diplomats, we speak about politics a lot, you know, but now I want to say about the cultural thing, that it can be really a puzzle for both nations to become the puzzle by discovering each other. Thank you for the question.
Thanks, Ms. Abravitova.
Thank you very much.
And we also hope that our diplomats will work hard on making our countries visa-free and have direct flight, because at the moment, if you want to travel from Ukraine to South Africa or from South Africa to Ukraine, you'll have to fly via one of the major airports. So at the moment, it's about the least you can fly in 14 hours, but normal around 17 hours. But we really hope that soon we will have a direct flight from major cities like Cape Town, Durban, and Johannesburg, straight to major cities in Ukraine, to Kiev, Lviv, and Odessa. And we are also working on that, promoting tourism and intercultural cooperation. So if there will be more people who want to fly, I'm sure there will be an interest, and your work in making our cooperations and visa-free would be also easier. So here we are, our interests are the same.
We promise you we are that.
Yeah, as Dzvinka said, we are promoting Ukrainian culture. I must say that after first Ukrainian festival, some of the acts that were performed at the first Ukrainian festival actually were shown later on SABC morning show, particularly Ukrainian dance hopak, as well as our unique instrument bandura, that our lady from Ukraine, Nadia, presented this instrument, as well as performance with this instrument. And besides cultural sharing, she showed our cuisine. She showed how she showed the preparation actually of Ukrainian baking in live air. She showed it in the program. So, and some of Ukrainians' books were donated to library in Cape Town. So now if Cape Townians want to start reading Ukrainian, they're welcome to come and see it in the library. Some of the movies about Ukraine were shown in Alabia Theater in Cape Town. And we started Ukrainian classes of Ukrainian language in Somerset West. So we continue sharing culture beyond the festival.
And now we wanted to show a video from telling a little bit about the history of Ukraine, about our Cossacks, about the strong Ukrainian fighters.
This is what is special for me, yes, because I'm actually from a city where Ukrainian Cossacks, where they resided, where they started their so-called Democratic Republic. So I'm from Zaporizhia, so this is a very special video for me and very special information, as this is actually, it's portraying my hometown in Ukraine, Zaporizhia.
Tiny island in the middle of the mighty Dnieper River with the big role in Ukrainian history. For centuries, Chortytsia has provided spiritual sanctuary and helped define Ukrainian identity. After all, this is the birthplace of the national icon, the Zaporizhian Cossack. In Ukraine, when you want a little boy to stop crying, you tell him, "Tysh Kozak," be a Cossack. It's an old expression, and it's all about being a warrior. In the 15th century, men came here in search of freedom, democratic self-rule, and independence. They trained, they fought, they defended their faith, and became the stuff of legends.
Thank you. So I hope, Andrea, have you had a chance to see any of Chortytsia? Have you been to Zaporizhia?
I have not, but I've read up, you know, even before I came to Ukraine, I've read up so much about the history of Ukraine. And this is something that I also want to tell South Africans, is that the history is so rich. And I'm always surprised that even when at unexpected times, I come across new stories. I was watching the other day that very popular show on TV about the Vikings, and then the last series turned into a story in Kiev, and so that is exactly how it is. The history is fascinating. The people are fascinating, and I must also remind the South Africans is that when I was a younger boy, there was a TV show on South African TV that was wildly popular, and it was all about the Cossacks. And of course, you know, we wanted to all to know, well, where's the Cossacks and so on. So when I came to Ukraine, it was great to then see and the architecture and the history around it and so on, and get to know the hetmans a little bit better. So so it's fascinating, I must say. And going back to the tourism, South Africans are always going all over the world, but we've got a blind spot somehow for this part of the world, and we must lift the veil now and use this. And South Africans must come and see this country. It is beautiful. It is so interesting. And for every one church that you will see in the rest of Europe, you will see 10 only in Kiev. And they are much older, and the history is incredible.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrea. I hope that after your message, as soon as pandemic stops, flights will be full of tourists coming from South Africa to Ukraine. But you know, the spirit of Cossacks also stays today in our boxers, because Ukraine has a lot of successful boxers, and between 2017 and 2019, a lot of Ukrainian boxers were fighting also in South Africa, trying to lift up the boxing spirit in South Africa as well. And we are lucky that out of that situation, we now have a new member, Vlad Sirenko, who is a professional boxer and resides in Ukraine, and started his career here in South Africa.
Hello everyone, my name is Vlad Sirenko. I'm a professional fighter from Ukraine. You can see it on my face. Now I'm in Paris making this video for you. Everything started in 2018 when first I came to South Africa. I was invited to training camp for Rowan Wizard, to work with Rowan Wizard. We were staying in a small farm in Meerton. It's like 20-30 kilometers away from Johannesburg. We was traveling a lot because my fights was all over in South Africa. I don't know, maybe I'm so lucky, but all the way I was meeting and just great people who always was very, very kind to me and to my team. But I hope one day I can come to Cape Town again. Cape Town is my favorite city. Christian kick-ass ice cream. It's my favorite one there. In the same moment, I'm so happy to know that so far away from home, we have a people who is keeping our culture, keeping our traditional alive, so far away from home, and it's always making some good feeling in my heart. I want to support and I want to say thank you for all of people who is doing that job. And I will see you there. Big up.
So good luck to Vlad as he's in Paris and preparing for his next match on the 13th of December. We will also follow his career. So far, his professional record is 14 fights, 13 by knockdown and 1 by decision. So he is our Ukrainian and South African boxing champion. And we're happy that sport also is something that unites our two countries. And our next, thank you so much, dear Liubov and Andrei, for this opportunity and for your kind words about Ukrainian Association, about Ukraine and South Africa. Our next session will be with poets.
Thank you very much.
With South African and Ukrainian poets. Some of them, like Oksana Kutsenko and Hanna Yanovska, Ukrainian poets who represented South Africa on Poetry Africa Festival in 2017. And since that time, Hanna Yanovska has published a book named Zolotay Nosurih, Golden Rhinos, with poems about South Africa. Hanna been to Cape Town and to Durban and wrote those poems. They're in Ukrainian, so obviously as any poetic soul, she would take the emotions from South Africa and put them into Ukrainian poetry. So if you're watching us in Ukraine, this is Видавництво Старого Лева, the name of the publishing, and the name is Zolotay Nosurih. And Svetlana will make an official introduction to our next speakers.
So we have 3 exciting poets joining our festival today. Our dear friend Joseph Koetsier, he is a big fan of Ukrainian festivals, I know that, and not only he presents his poetry in English, he started writing poems in Ukrainian as well, since he's become a student at Ukrainian school. He started studying Ukrainian language. But speaking about his interest in poetry, I'll just make a small introduction. He studies ancient Egypt and its influence on classical composers, Eastern European films, music and poetry. And I believe that currently you explore the role of poetry in Polish and Baltic cultural identities, but now you become interested in Ukrainian poetry as well. So the stage is yours. We'd like to hear something interesting from you, how you connected with Ukrainian Association and what actually inspires you to take part in all the Ukrainian events, for which we are very grateful to you.
Yeah, it happened actually on Saturday, the 24th of August last year. that was big load sheds. In La Galleria, there was Oksana Kutsenko, who read 13 poems of herself, especially the poem about her grandfather so deeply influenced me. And after the presentation, I showed my portfolio, which I had made for a presentation to honor the death of my countrymen in that terrible plane crash in 2016 in the east of Ukraine. And she read the portfolio, and then there was no more stopping. So in no time, I was sitting in front of Oceania, Liubov, Nataliya, and then we were the first one exposed to Ukrainian lessons in February, just before lockdown.
Thank you, Joseph. We also have Oksana Kutsenko with us, who participated, as I've already mentioned, at Poetry Africa. She also was present in Cape Town on our first Ukrainian festival, and now she is living in Pretoria. We know that the language plays an important role for poetry, because this is your tool. You use words to communicate the ideas. Oksana, how it is for you to hear your poems translated into English, and have you also started writing in English or maybe in other African language? I know that some of your poems were also translated into Zulu. How does it feel to hear your poems in other languages, and how do you find that?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Ukrainian Association. Hello, Ukrainians from Ukraine and South Africans from South Africa. Thank you for organizing such an amazing event. And first of all, thank you, dear Ukrainian Association of South Africa and dear Dzvinka, for inviting me at first to South Africa in 1917 to participate in the first Ukrainian Festival. I remember, and I will always remember it. It was an amazing event for me, and it was very impressive for me. How do I feel now when publishing in South African anthologies as participant of South African festivals? First of all, I feel spoiled by warm hearts of local people, warm hearts of local poets, and it's very, very warm welcome. I took part only in two South African festivals, poetry festivals, and I believe it is very impressive, and people I met through these events, like Joseph or like Patricia Schonstein, who publish my poems in different anthologies. It's maybe the greatest things I met here in South Africa.
Thank you. Thanks, Oksana. And how it is for you to hear your poems in a different language?
Just in English. Nobody translated me into Zulu or Xhosa or any other languages. How it's wonderful. It makes poetry international, and it's good.
Thanks. Thank you, Oksana. Hanna Yanovska is also here with us today. She's speaking from Kharkiv, from Ukraine. So we have Joseph, who's in Somerset West, right, Joseph? Or were you in Western Cape? In Somerset West, Oksana from Pretoria, and Hanna is joining us from Ukraine, from Kharkiv. So if you don't know where that town is, please Google and see it in the eastern part of Ukraine. Hanna, what inspired you to write the book about a book of poems about South Africa?
Oh, first, I would like to say hello to Ukrainians worldwide and their fans, and then I'll try to tell the story. The book was inspired by 2 trips to South Africa. First, the first one is what I should thank you, the Ukrainians of South Africa, and Dzvinka personally. It was the first meeting with South Africa. It was Cape Town, and it was some of the not near the sea, Grahamstown, that place. The second was the time when we, Oksana and I, went to Durban to Poetry Africa Festival in 2017. And the places, the people, the energy of land, sea, and everything made this book, The Gold Rhino. The thing I was very happy to have in this book are also the illustrations of our artist, Svetlana Fesenko. She drew everything. She drew an African woman. If you look a little closer, you see something like 2 women. One is rather big and pregnant, and the other is thin, and she keeps in her hands the golden rhino, the one we really saw in Pretoria in the museum, the treasure of Mapungubwe. There is a poem about this thing in the book too. There are pictures like these. It's really great experience, and I'm very happy that the book found its publishing house and its artist, and I strongly hope it finds the readers.
It looks like a Hadida bird that wakes all the South Africans up early in the morning.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I told Svetlana about it and showed her.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Hanna, would you like to read to us one of your poems?
Certainly. I will read the one from this book, translated into English by my American friend Elsa Linas. It is called The Maestro of Jacarandas. And maybe you understand that if you look at the monument to Nelson Mandela in Pretoria when jacarandas are in bloom, Oksana and I were happy to see it like this. It's actually what the poem is about. So, for the Maestro of Jacarandas. He who knew the curse of prison, who with open-handed gestures turned the haters into an orchestra, had them playing all together. He cannot simply leave the world, but humbly, quietly, and gently to another band he goes. At his signal, they begin the music of the violet aroma. Jacarandas, jacarandas, over the Pretoria's fences, over souls brave and frightened, over those whose burning memories hurt the very heart of justice. There is one embrace to notice. It reflects the only great one, the big hug that never lets us slide into the deepest darkness. And while everything keeps moving, a sign of hope and consolation, we smell the perfumed trumpets of jacarandas, jacarandas.
Thank you. Thank you, Hanna. I think that also South African might feel happy that the jacarandas don't leave any heart without response. Obviously, the beauty of South African trees found such a nice response in your heart and in your poem. Thank you so much. Joseph, and I know that you also wrote a poem about Ukraine. Can you can you read us?
I will read it in English because I don't want to disturb the Ukrainian language by introducing a non-native foreigner's dialect. But they are all available in Ukrainian as well. This is actually a praise song to the case endings of the Ukrainian grammar. Fortunately, there are only 7. A foreigner's journey in Ukrainian grammar. I will not surrender without a fight. Always clear, there are only 7. I give them the colors of the rainbow. I will pour for myself. I will pour for you cases. The yellow nominative, the green genitive, the turquoise dative, the purple accusative, the blue instrumental, the red locative, the gray vocative. A bouquet of grammatical flowers that never withers.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Joseph.
But we did hope to hear some Ukrainian language from you, Joseph.
Okay, I'll try. You see, just before lockdown, I looked at my grammar and said, oh, what a beautiful language. Let me try to make at least a poem. And of course, as I'm an incurable romantic, it became kind of a mini love poem. So you can fill in the name. Let me try. Яка вона радна, але не знаю імені. Сто вона, я ститав її очі.
Do you have the name of this poem, Joseph? Because it sounds very romantic.
I said on the top, moje pierwsze Ukrainian poema. Then I was still nameless. Later I invented all sorts of names, but this one was nameless.
But the way you pronounced моя перша українська поема sounds very Ukrainian, so it's already an accomplishment. Well done, Joseph.
Oh, thank you very much.
And thank you so much for taking interest in learning language.
See, I still have to practice together with a native speaker, so to have the fine tune, because I sometimes have the tendency to put in Polish accents, because I learned first Polish, and then that is not on, of course. That's Ukrainian is Ukrainian. Yeah.
Thank you, Joseph. Joseph has joined the Ukrainian language classes in February this year, and now they moved, unfortunately, online. But if you are in South Africa and if you're interested to learn the language, we welcome you to join our language classes in Pretoria or in Somerset West. Or now, while we are doing it online, you can really join from any part of South Africa, the language classes. And Oksana, would you like to read any poem for us today?
Do you want me to read Joseph's poem in Ukrainian? He asked me.
Of course, please.
Для українських слухачів скажу, що це буде вірш, написаний українською мовою південно-африканським поетом Джозефом Коетзеєм, але оскільки він себе не досить впевнено почуває як мовець, він попросив мене прочитати цього вірша. На щастя, їх лише 7. Подорож іноземця в українській граматиці. Як ви здогадаєтесь, мова йде про відмінки. Я не здамся без бою. Все ясно. Їх лише 7. Я дарую їм кольори веселки. Я налию собі, я налию тобі відмінок. Жовтий називний, зелений родовий, бірюза – це давальний. Фіолетовий знахідний, синій орудний, червоний місцевий, сірий кличний. Букет граматичних квітів, який ніколи не зів'яне.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, it's wonderful, Joseph. Now we see that you're also a big fan of Ukrainian music. We can sense it in your poem.
Yes, I remember. Yes, yes. Also, Ukrainian classical music. Yeah, there's so much. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Oksana. Would you like to read any of your poems as well? I just want to say, Joseph, I think we will share it with all Ukrainian schools in different countries, where people in Australia or in Canada and America or many others, where they're learning Ukrainian language. I'm sure they would really, it will help them to swim through Ukrainian grammar, which some find quite difficult.
May I make one remark? I just want to congratulate Hanna Yanovska for her beautiful translations. I mean, I share them with quite a number of people in the area here. They were very moved, and especially the Laboratory of Tenderness. It is such a superb poem, and you translated it with such a grace. Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. So Hanna is also a translator. She's translating both South African poets into Ukrainian and Ukrainian poets into English, and we will give her floor after Oksana will read us one of her poems.
Yes, I want to read a poem translated by Hanna together with Robert Barrell, the South African poet, and this poem connected me and Ukrainian dancer Katerina Alyoshina. She is with us today, and it was very lucky meeting with Katya and very lucky collaboration, very fruitful. We created together performance, dance and poetry performance, Show Me Your Christmas, and I will read a poem from this performance. So sorry, I just fix it. Show me your Christmas. Show me your Christmas from far away, your Christmas trees, your corporate oysters, all this splendor in coffee cups and bar check-ins. I will watch from the top floor, through the warmed heart of a December window pane, your women in fairs driving home the bags with chocolate and fish tails, through the keyhole in the locked door, into the Kiev streets where no one dances anymore, where Christmas fairs are slowly going cold, and the spring-like air, cinnamon and cloves, cloves and cinnamon. Show me in the news on my FB your tinsel-decorated malls, just after the ash-wrapped children. The summary of the year, the best invention, the greatest achievement. Show me the holiday-excited world from far away. I will always remember your smiles under your funny hats. I will always carry from school, in a colorful backpack, your heaviest burden, with a crumbled spice cake from St. Nicholas, keeping my feet on the salt-covered pavement.
Beautiful.
I can smell that cinnamon and cloves. You read it so like inspiring, and so you can touch it, you can smell it really. Yeah, it is a beautiful smell of Christmas.
Luckily, Christmas is approaching, so we will have an opportunity to enjoy it soon as well. And Hanna, can you tell us about any challenges that you face, specifically translating poets from South Africa? Is there any particularities that you see?
The most serious particularities were connected with the culture, with multiculturalness of South Africa, with the languages that infiltrate into English here. The first poem I remember translating from South African author, it was the poem by Anna Kellas, who emigrated from Australia in the 70s. And the poem was about the place called Compton's Place, Mbabane. There was, for example, Shongololo. For that, at that time, I was looking what it is. I asked the author. She told me. I now know if I met one in South Africa, I would recognize something like this.
Thank you. And how do you feel how easy it is for South African to connect with Ukrainian culture?
I think if we speak about the language, Slavic languages are rather complicated. If I hadn't speak a Slavic language, I'm not sure it would be easy for me to learn one. But as for the culture, as for the feeling of Christianity and magical beliefs existing in one head, in one conscience, I think it would be very close to many South Africans. I remembered when we took part in Ukraine in the Ukrainian Festival in 2017. We talked to some people about that.
Thank you. Thanks. And Joseph, you said that you are reading poems to your friends in South Africa, some of Ukrainian poems. What they find interesting? Do you think there are any barriers to those international conversations?
Well, I mean, some of the poems, of course, like the one meant about the history of Oksana's grandfather. I need to give a little bit of historical information, but most of them are so beautiful and lucidly written. Most of the people say I must read it several times and almost let it sink in, because it has such an enormous depth. This is not just an occasional poem that sketches the color of a plant or whatever. It goes much deeper. There's so many layers of consciousness and awareness in it. But that is possible. Actually, just another secret of Oksana, I'm also trying to translate your poetry into Dutch. So by the time the first ones are ready, I will send them to you. I mean, I can understand Afrikaans fluently as well, but I don't have the mastery of the details of the Afrikaans language to translate it into proper Afrikaans. That is archery, so Afrikaans very powerful as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Joseph. And Oksana, we know that you were instrumental with bringing South African poet Siyabonga Mpungose to Lviv to present at Ukrainian Poetry Festival. Can you share with us some impression? Unfortunately, Siyabonga is not joining us today online, but can you share with us some impressions, how Ukrainian public treated him and what were his impressions about Ukraine?
Siyabonga impressed, of course, Siyabonga impressed Ukrainian public, and Lviv Book Forum, he performed on few stages, and he took part also at the action of support Free Sentsov, while Oleg Sentsov was imprisoned. It was in 2018. Siyabonga was very active, and our people really liked him and his performances, and also I should say that Siyabonga liked Lviv and Ukraine so much, and a lot of South African poets would like to visit Ukraine to take part in Ukrainian Book Festival, so on.
Thank you. We really hope that that would be possible, and we're really grateful for you to join us today for this conversation. If you will allow, we would like to publish the poems that you read today for those who enjoyed them, that they can also read them more. Joseph, your poem about the Ukrainian grammar, I'm sure will be on the desk of all of those who are learning Ukrainian language. And if any Ukrainians would like to imagine what jacarandas are, they can just go to Hanna's poem. So thank you so much for sharing your poetry.
Thank you very much.
With us. And our next session will be about Ukrainian embroidery, about Ukrainian Vyshyvanka.